Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Planning. I stand on a matter of urgent public importance. Right Honorable Speaker, last Sunday, the 5th day of September 2021, a 4-storied reinforced concrete building along Kisenyi Road collapsed, killing 7 people, 4 women and 3 men. It is alleged that the building is owned by one Sentongo Haruna, a young tycoon in the city. Right Honorable Speaker, the remaining buildings were visually seen to have major structural cracks, very serious structural cracks, and the building is still standing. And it has created fear within the neighborhood because anytime they may collapse and cause further harm to the community. Right Honorable Speaker, on the 9th day of January 2020, a building collapsed and killed 6 people in Kansanga. Similarly, on the 11th day of May 2021, another building collapsed in the neighborhood of Kansanga, Lukuli, Nanganda, and killed 15 people and injured many. On the 16th day of March 2021, another building collapsed along Kampala Road. In fact, it's called Fidodido. And 2 bodies were pulled from the construction debris.
So what do we do? What do you want us to do?
Right Honorable Speaker, my prayer is we wanted to know from the Minister of Kampala what mitigation measures they have put in place to make sure that this unsound remaining structure does not create further havoc within the area. Secondly, we want to know from the Minister, because very many buildings have been collapsing within the area, and we have lost lives. What measures have they put in place to make sure that there are no further collapse of buildings? Lastly, under TOTS law, there is a provision that negligence is a crime. We are aware that the National Building Review Board helped to put in place the Building Crime Division under the DPP's office. What has been done to the culprits that have basically caused the death of these innocent Ugandans? Information accepted?
No. You're finished?
Most obliged.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Is it wax?
Right Honorable Speaker, it is true that we have lost people and property as described and enumerated by my honorable colleague. In the Ministry of Works and Housing, which is responsible for infrastructure, all the infrastructure in the country, we have a Uganda National Bureau Review Board, as indicated by my brother. Immediately I heard of this recent development, which is extremely regrettable. I have committed this board and the teams responsible for investigation to quickly come up with an answer to what happened, and if it needs be, we'll proceed with investigation and bring the culprits to book. Right Honorable Speaker, I can promise this honorable House that if I'm given a day or 2 from today, I will come with a comprehensive report of what has happened and all the interventions that we have undertaken. in that direction, particularly on this particular recent development and others that have happened in the recent past.
Thank you. Ginger City? Ginger City? Oh.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Manjeri Chibakutika, Woman Representative, Ginger City, Deputy Opposition Whip. I'm rising on a matter of national importance, and the matter is about insecurity. We are all aware that there is insecurity in some parts of this country, with threats from the Pangamen, commonly known as Vijambia people. The Pangamen have a tendency of circulating letters to areas that they wish to attack. Remember, whenever these letters are circulated, they make sure that they make a follow-up and make sure that their missions come to pass. As I'm speaking, in Ginger City, some areas have been affected, and these letters are circulating in areas like Bugembe, Budondo, Mafubira, and Wanyange. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to bring this to your attention that on 29th of August 2021, Mr. Amos Chitamirike and the Nachto Nora were attacked by these Pangamen. And as I'm speaking, they are admitted and nursing their wounds at a certain hospital in Jinja that I can't disclose for security purposes. My humble request, Right Honorable Speaker, that the Minister for Security should offer immediate intervention so that my people of Ginger City are protected from such heartless people. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Front bench of the government. The Land Attorney General.
Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of insecurity in different parts of the country has been addressed, and currently we have officers, in fact the ministers are on the ground trying to figure that out, and something is being done. Unfortunately, we are not at liberty at this time to divulge everything that has been done because investigations are going on. Maybe to say that we should allow police to carry out its activities without interference from very concerned citizens. And we also pray and hope.
Procedure.
Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, the government side has a leader called the leader of government business. This Parliament, through the Committee on Appointments, also approved many persons to occupy and serve in different sectors. This Parliament has never approved the Honorable Chiwanuka Chiriowa, either as leader of government business or as Minister for Security. I thought if he's holding any of those two portfolios, that he will tell Parliament that today I am also acting as Minister for Security or leader of government business. The procedure issue I am raising, Mr. Speaker, without the government side disclosing to us who leads them today, whether we have adopted a new procedure that when you call, Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Security, anyone can shoot up and say, I am answering. That's the procedure issue I am raising.
Certainly not anyone, otherwise you would have stood up yourself. It has to be somebody from the front bench. Honorable members, these times when parts of the country or people of this country are being hurt or affected by some situation that needs urgent responses, we use this method to deal with that. And there's a government, they know how they do their business. It is not up to me to find out on what capacity are you standing. I know it's a minister in government, and what I expect from that minister is useful information. So if you stand up to speak on behalf of government, useful information that restores calm and gives hope to the people whose matters have been raised as urgent matters. In other words, please, whatever portfolio you hold, if you don't have any good information, do not stand. And it's usually the government chief whip who always gathers this information for those who are not here and gives it to them. But the problem with that is that it crowds my order paper the next day. Responses to urgent matters, they should be here to answer those issues. And any issue that is going to be deferred to the future is not helpful because these are urgent matters. So, Land Attorney General, would you like to give us good information about this matter?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Ginger, the matter has been taken, and we are going to come back to the House with a clear response on the specific items. We shall definitely reach out to the Deputy Leader of Opposition to get more details as to the specifics of that matter. But, Right Honorable Speaker, a full report on the security situation in the country is being worked on, and we presented this House at the earliest.
Thank you very much. I like the issue of the comprehensive report for the whole country, but I don't like the issue of coming back on Ginger. Go just deal with it. We want the MP to start smiling, saying, my matter has been handled. You don't have to come back to the House for that. Thank you. Maugola?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For record, Goreti Namuga, the area member of Parliament, Maugola South County, Sembabule District. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a matter of urgent national importance in regard to the inconsistent power supply in my constituency, that is Greater Matete. For the last 4 days, my area has been in total blackout. Right Honorable Speaker, considering the insecurity in this area, and as you are all aware, Sembabule is part of Greater Massacre, where those anonymous letters have been thrown all over. The community is very scared. It is too dark, and it makes the community face challenges during the night when it's too dark in as far as security is concerned. Also, when it comes to business, people have suffered. Business has told, and there are a lot of losses. And also to government. It's a loss to government when people are not tapping on the power. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I call on the line minister to ensure that Ugandans get fairness in as far as getting electricity in homes is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Zimbabwe has an issue. The Minister of Energy is here. Why is there blackout in Zimbabwe? And what are you going to do about it?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank Honorable Namuga for having raised this issue, because sometimes it happens throughout the country. What I'll have to find out is the cause of this problem. Sometimes it comes from an interruption in the distribution network. I will come back to her to explain, and in case the matter is not handled, I know she will be able to get back to me. Sometimes we face these challenges of disturbances, and it can't be just one cause. It could be a problem in a transformer, it could be a problem in the distribution network. So I'll get in touch with her to make sure that we sort out this problem.
So
Thank you.
You'll do everything possible to make sure that power returns to Zimbabwe?
Yes, sir.
You are the minister?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But I work with technical people.
Yes, but you will do everything possible.
I will do everything possible within my means, sir, to make sure that the problem is rectified.
Chodera district?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Nantongo Fortunate from Chotera, Woman MP. I rise on a matter of urgent national importance concerning the insecurity at Kasensero landing site. Right Honorable Speaker, there is totally no deployment of security at the landing site. This has caused a lot of vandalization of the fishermen's boat engines, the fish itself, the fishing equipment. The nets are vandalized every day. Right Honorable Speaker, in August, we lost a young man by the names of Chizito, who was killed and his body dumped and found this month. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, my prayer is that the Minister of Security should go on ground and assess the situation and also ensure deployment of security immediately so that we can save the lives of our people and their property. Thank you.
Thank you. Security.
Right Honorable.
I thought there was the Attorney General doing security matters.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Proceed, Chief Whip.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to inform the Minister of Security. He will assess and take the appropriate action, and we shall be in touch with the colleague. Thank you.
What? Procedure?
Right Honourable Speaker, thanks for indulgence. I take in good faith the promise by the Chief Whip to have the Minister come here and advise the House on a matter of security the Honourable Member has complained about. Last week, Right Honourable Speaker, we had a member from Buvuma, the islands, raising the same security concern in the islands. And we seem to be getting dotted responses about security on the lakes. In fact, hers was that security in Buvuma, everyone had taken matter in their own hands, and they would not know who is in charge in the islands. Wouldn't it be okay, Right Honourable Speaker, procedurally, that these dotted responses from government do stop and we comprehensively receive a report about what's happening in the country on the lakes and generally on the issues of insecurity reported by the members. The member from Ginger raised the matter, and the response is supposed to be general sometime before we know it, because hers was a complaint about deployment and the absence of any form of security, despite the reported, wave and signs of insecurity in the area. Right Honourable Speaker, wouldn't it be okay to get a definite date for the country to listen to the state of security without having to promise to a future we do not know yet, Right Honourable Speaker?
Thank you very much. I thought I had the Attorney General say just that. And that's how I distinguish the issue of Ginger and the general security situation in the country, which the Attorney General promised they'll come with a comprehensive statement to deal with all the other different aspects and brief the House. And if it comes as a ministerial statement, we'll be able to have a debate on it and see, if it comes as a ministerial statement, then we'll be able to have a debate. But I heard him saying that, so I have no reason to doubt what the Land Attorney General said. Amoro?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. For the record, I'm Lucia Kello, District Woman Representative Amuru. Right Honourable Speaker, the morning of 5th September, the people at Elegu, and for the information of this House, Elegu is at the border with South Sudan, where we receive very many international people crossing over. They were woken up with heavy waters flowing from River Onyama that had burst its bank, and as such, the place flooded. I spoke to the LC1 of the area today. It has calmed down, but they are worried of more flooding from tonight onwards because of the heavy rains that is actually in the greater Gulu and Amuro. because of the river Achua. Now, my prayers, and the children, by the way, when these places flood, the children are in the cold. They have nowhere to go and sleep. My prayer, one, to the Ministry of Works. This has been an ongoing disaster for long, and it has a lot to do with the Ministry of Works. What has been done so far to ensure that the channels are actually opened properly, that we avoid these floods, because this is something which is even already known. And two, to the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness, to plan for those who are already displaced, because there are already people who are temporarily displaced. Their homes and houses have been flooded. So my prayers are to those two ministries to urgently reach out to the people of Elegu, because there's a lot of anxiety and fear. We don't want to reach a point where people will die. So far, no one has died, and we don't want to reach there. I beg to move. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Government.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I will deploy my teams from Gulu sub-region to go and look at what the situation is as of immediately after this. Then they will give me a feedback, and then I will communicate either to the House or directly to the leadership of the area.
Has he accepted your clarification?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the problem of water in Elegu has been there for so many years. And the matter was brought to this parliament every time water floods are Elegu. Right Honourable Speaker, I remember last year, the Minister of Works sends a team at Elegu. They did the feasibility studies, and they promised to start working immediately so that the problem may not occur again. There came a time they kept silent, and up to now, people do not know what is happening. My clarification is, Honorable Minister, is very important in most cases to be very serious and take the matter in a humanitarian ground. People of Elegu are not getting easy life because of overflooding every year at around this particular time. So now, what are you going to do exactly in following up where the Minister of Works started last year? That's the clarification I want.
Let us put this way, honorable members. Right, Honorable Speaker, on Friday, I have some working visit to Gulu. I had scheduled to be in the Gulu sub-region to do some work to do with the works. Now that this development has happened, while I'm going to direct my technical teams to go quickly and make an assessment, I will also endeavor on the Friday while in the sub-region to personally go and do support supervision of what can be done by the ministry. That's a commitment to this House.
Thank you very much.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
The humanitarian aspects, who have been affected. Yes, you are still very conversant with those issues.
Right, Honorable Prime Minister, Speaker, Right, Honorable Speaker, it is true I am the Minister of Disaster Preparedness, Emeritus. Usually what we do when a situation like this happens, we know the first challenge that befalls the victims is humanitarian. I want to commit to share it with my colleagues from the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness to do 3 things. One, see if the children can be helped with some food. See if the mothers and children can be helped with the households like blankets and nets so that they don't get pneumonia and those challenges. and any other humanitarian intervention. I will commit also to do that, to communicate to my colleagues in the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness immediately after this.
Thank you. Agago. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand on a matter on point of procedure, Rule 30, Sub Rule 7. In 2019, Mr. Speaker, I brought a petition here concerning the failure of government to compensate the people of Kagarama Town Council, where the road of Ntunga Mukunjiri is passing. I was promised a response by the minister, and on several occasions, I came here again under Rule 30, and the minister kept on promising. Now, Mr. Speaker, since the Minister of Works is here, wouldn't it be procedurally right to get his commitment again that he will respond to that issue of the people of Kagarama Town Council? Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
No, it will not be procedurally right. Because this is a new minister in charge of the sector. He is not aware of the events that happened in that sector in 2019. It would be unfair to subject him to that kind of situation. It would not be properly done. And next time you do that, Honorable.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. For record purpose, my name is Okot John Amos, a Member of Parliament for Agago North County. Mr. Speaker, I'm rising on a matter of national importance regarding the drought and the hailstorm. In the first rain this year, first season, there was hardly enough rainfalls in my area. And as a result, most of the crops withered to the extent that farmers start struggling to get seeds so that they can plant in the second raining time. But now again, Mr. Speaker, on Saturday the 4th, after farmers have already planted even the crops and some crops started flowering, there came a very heavy hailstorm and it destroyed crops from in one sub-county, almost entire sub-county got wiped out. Then in another one, in the sub-county of Kuyue, a parish is Bodwong and Atut Paris. The crops that were due even for early harvest got destroyed. And the worst one which was affected are crops like simsims. They have started flowering, but unfortunately, those crops got shuttered down because of hailstorm. My prayer is the government to take an immediate step according to whatever kind of responses that they have in place to rescue those farmers, because we are predicting a lot of famine to come as well. As we talk now, people are even hungry, people are suffering because of that. And then the meteorological department, they are predicting that rain is going to still continue maybe until late November or early December. So within this short period of time, if seeds can be availed to them, they can still plant so that they can recover from those ones that got spoiled. Finally, on record, you just in your communication, you mentioned about the death of Honorable Professor Dr. J.G. Otim. Dr. J.G. Otim hails from Agago North County in Kalango. The tentative arrangement for the burial, they're saying it's going to be on Saturday, the 11th September. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, front bench. The issue of Agago.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I will request the Member of Parliament to to get in touch with the disaster committee at the district headquarters. There is that committee, so that they can write a report about what happened. Then you give a copy. They write to the OPM. You get a copy. You give copies, of course, to officers concerned. Then follow-up can be made. In terms of the seats, if you write that one, then we can see how we can connect you to the government where seeds can be got from. I thank you.
Information. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Can we now go to the order paper, please?
Item number 2, following the amendment of the order paper, motion seeking a resolution of Parliament on the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University as a public university.
Honorable Minister, Honorable, I have not seen any procedural matter arising here. Let's deal with business, please. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I rise on a procedural matter. Right Honorable, the last time the Minister of Education came to this Parliament, he had proposals of universities. And Right Honorable, we have a problem of Busoga University, where we have been demanding government several times to come and bring the same to this Parliament. When he came the other time, we proposed that he goes and comes up with a comprehensive Mountain of the Moon, Busoga University, and all these other universities, Right Honorable. Right Honorable, today, the minister has come with one university, Mountain of the Moon. The people of Busoga are watching me seated there in this Parliament. It would be so sad if I don't rise on behalf of the people of Busoga. Right Honorable, wouldn't it be procedurally right for this Parliament, for you to order, we send the minister back to go and bring, including Busoga University, so that we handle the matter comprehensively once and for all. Right Honorable.
Honorable members, the Speaker processes and prepares order papers, and it is premised on documentation that is ready for handling by Parliament. I am not going shopping. If a document is not ready, there is no way I can produce it in this Parliament and we debate it. But the minister has heard that you have made promises on the floor here. Better live up to your word instead of coming piecemeal. The sentiment is that all those things that you listed in the past, you should bring them all together and handle them. But I got a phone call yesterday that this one was ready, should be put on the order paper. But by the time I saw the motion, I'd already published the order paper. That's why I'm amending to allow. I received the motion. I have not received any other motion. That's why it is on the order paper. Proceed, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for that very wise ruling. And maybe, Right Honorable Speaker, I'd like to inform the House that there is a procedure we follow before we bring a motion like this to Parliament. For Busoga University, the procedure is on, and I'll be coming back when the procedure is complete to present a motion for Busoga University. Right Honorable Speaker, this motion is seeking a resolution of Parliament on the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University as a public university.
Procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, the issue that was raised by the Honorable Serwani relates to the fact that the issue of Busoga University has been here earlier than the one of Mountains of the Moon. Yes, yes. The procedural issue I raise is how the minister says they are preparing the one of Busoga University, and it is one of the mountains of the moon, which is ready. Right from the 10th Parliament, we've been discussing this issue of Busoga University. So how come this is overlapping? Well, what's the problem? I think that's what you need to discuss. Otherwise, I beseech members to reject the motion.
I actually thought you rose on a procedural matter, but I listened carefully. I did not hear any procedural matter that you raised. So it leaves me without anything to say about that. I will not comment, Honorable Minister. Please deal with the motion.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. The motion I'm moving is seeking a resolution of Parliament on the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University as a public university. Right Honourable Speaker and dear colleagues.
Is the motion seconded?
No. Yes. Seconded.
It's seconded by member for Shema, member for Fort Poto, member for Chegegwa, member for Amuru, member for Dokolo District. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Right Honourable Speaker, moving this under Rule number 56 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, whereas the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda under Objective 18 of the National Objectives and Directives Principles of State Policy obligates the state to take appropriate measures to afford every citizen equal opportunity to attain the highest educational standards possible, and whereas Article 30 of the Constitution makes provision for the right to education for all Ugandans, whereas that Mountains of the Moon, a non-for-profit community university established in Fort Poto to serve Bundibujo, Kabalole, Kamwenge, Kasese, Chegwegwa, Chenjojo, Ntoroko districts, and beyond, has from inception to date faced a number of challenges, including lack of a sustainability mechanism for the university, lack of funding mechanism to support the various university activities, and high operational expenses which do not match the internally generated revenue by the university, among others. Noting that Section 22(1) of the Universities and Other Tertiary Institutions Act of 2001 empowers the minister responsible for education to establish a public university by statutory instrument on the recommendation of National Council for Higher Education and by a resolution of Parliament, cognizant that the National Council for Higher Education has recommended to the minister responsible for education the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University in Fort Poto District as a public university. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Parliament that Mountains of the Moon University be established as a public university in Uganda. I move, Right Honourable Speaker.
You think you would like to speak to your motion, or that is the speech? Would you like to speak to your motion, Honourable Minister?
Right Honourable Speaker, the establishment of Mountain of the Moon University as a public university is quite in line with the directive by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda to take over Mountains of the Moon and the Kabale universities as public universities. Accordingly, Cabinet under Minute 440 of CT 220 approved the takeover of Mountains of the Moon University as a public university. Also, the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University will help government to increase access to higher education in the region. This is in line with the National Development Plan 3, which projects that for Uganda to achieve economic takeoff, it needs a university gross enrollment ratio of 40% in the relevant disciplines, mostly sciences, which Mountains of the Moon University will be concentrating on. Right Honorable Speaker, this university will enable government to subsidize and support basic infrastructure development and staff pay, hence lowering the cost of higher education. The university will benefit a large catchment population in the districts of Lundibujo, Kabalole, Kamwenge, Kasese, Chegwegwa, Kienjejo, Ntoroko, and beyond. Right Honorable Speaker, the Mountain of the Moon University will, in line with the National Strategic Direction in NDP 3, focus on agriculture, tourism, environmental conservation, geared towards promoting agro-processing, value addition, and marketing, tourism, service management, and innovation for sustainable land use, water resources, forest and wetland, respectively. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, the establishment of Mountains of the Moon University as a public university will help to address the issue of regional imbalance and equity, since there is no university in that part of Uganda. This will address the issue of inequitable distribution of higher education institutions. I submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, the motion that I propose for your debate.
Right Honorable, I beg to lay the certificate of financial implications on table.
That the records capture the certificate of financial implication. The motion that I propose for your debate is for Mountains of the Moon University to be a public university. That is the motion for your debate. And I see the Honorable Butime rising.
Thank you, Right Honorable. First of all, let me make it very clear, Right Honorable Speaker, that should a motion come tomorrow or after tomorrow to establish Busoga University as a public university, I will support it. Mountains of the Moon University, Right Honorable Speaker, was founded in 2005. This is a university not for profit, and we agreed when we were founding this university that should anything happen, the property, the buildings, the funds of this university will go to a charity. But most important is to meet the knowledge need of the people of Uganda, of course, Rwenzori region inclusive. This university got its first graduation in 2008. We have so far had 12 graduations. And the people of Uganda have benefited from the graduates of that university. Today, we have more than 2,500 students. The President did direct 2015 that these universities be taken over by government, and each university started to work towards that. We got a charter, Right Honorable Speaker. A charter of Master of the Moon University was issued 2017. So this private university has a charter. Once you are granted a charter, you can access the student loan scheme. You can offer master's degrees, etc. But we have a charter 2017. What does this university offer? Agriculture, environmental sciences, informatics and computing, business management, health sciences, tourism, education, public administration, and many other very, very important courses for our country. This university, Right Honorable Speaker, has 360 acres of land. 360. The university at Saka sits on 160 acres of land with a title. With a title, Right Honorable. And we also have 200 acres at Kiembogo, where we're going to do agriculture and farming. We have 16 PhDs. These are the people at the university who are teaching. And 2019, the government of Uganda established a transition task force by the Ministry of Education. A transition task force headed by Professor Achanga from the National Council for Higher Education. The purpose of this task force is to transit, to develop, to help, to move the university from a private to a public university for 2 years. 2019, 2021, by now, Right Honorable Speaker, this university should have been a public university, but we have not been panicking. We have been keeping cool, headed, and we know that we shall get there. The university collaborates with other universities. First, we collaborate with our universities in Uganda, Makerere University, MUBS, the University of Busitema, Kiambogo, Gulu, Mbarara University. But we also collaborate with the University of Ghent in Belgium, Kokside in Germany, and other universities, the University of Beijing, and other universities in the world. Why are we asking for this university to be taken over by government? There is no public university in that region. As the Honorable Dr. Muyingo, the Minister of State for Higher Education, has just said. And we need this university in that region. We want university education for the sons and daughters of that area, plus all other students from Uganda. Nobody is saying that the students going to be admitted at the Master of the Moon University must necessarily come or will only be coming from Rwenzori region. No. They will be coming from all over the country. I would love to see a student from Amudat doing public health. I would love to see a student, Right Honorable, from Gulu or Bugiri offering informatics, or business administration, etc. We want to access scholarships, infrastructure, university financing, more students to come to the university, lecturers, and better salaries for the university staff. And of course, introduction of modern technology at the university, funding for research, and the government loan scheme. Mr. Chairman, I am chairman of the governing council of this university. And I request members of this house that this house will make history by approving this resolution. This will be the first university to be converted to a public university by the 11th Parliament. And I'm quite sure that this is going to happen today. Of course, there is no conflict of interest because as soon as the university becomes a public university, my chairmanship ceases. So there is no conflict of interest. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Amalada.
I rise to support the motion, and on the basis that I'm one of the people that interacted with this university 2 years ago while I was working with local government. Right Honorable Speaker, this university manifests the triple helix model of innovation that brings in the interaction between the community, the industry, and governments. I saw firsthand when the university organized a Rwenzori Investment Expo that brought together over 2,000 local and international investors that were able to display what the Rwenzori region has. It is on this basis, Right Honorable Speaker, that I witnessed the signing of an MOU between this university and German investors to build a 5-star hotel that will be used to train our people in the sector of tourism and hospitality. And in that signing, His Excellency witnessed, and in my view, honorable colleagues, this university is bringing to this country innovations that other universities may have to learn from. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shema? Is that Shema? No. Which one? Which is it? Yes, Professor Elijah Mshemeza. It's not Shema. I was saying Shema. You have forgotten the constituency. Okay, proceed now. Proceed. It's on.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Mshemeza Elijah Dickens, Member of Parliament, Shema County South. I support this motion for 3 reasons. First, equitable distribution of scarce resources. We all know that human needs are insatiable. And the Greater Rwenzori region has many needs, but I believe this is one of the priority human needs. We all know that in Africa, the state is the major producer and distribution of scarce resources. So Greater Rwenzori region coming to the state to request to be given a public university is consistent in equitable distribution of resources. The second reason why I support this motion, I have had an opportunity to look at the policies of the Mountain of the Moons University. When you look at the governing manual, if you look at the human resource manual, if you look at the academic policy, if you look at the death policy, you see a high level of preparedness of this university to become a public university. The third and last reason why I support this motion is look at the academic strengths of the university. We all know that in Uganda and in the whole of Africa, there is a scarcity or shortage of high-level trained personnel. But when you look at the staffing of the Mountain of the Moons University, look at the number of PhDs and other academic staff with master's degree, you see a high level of preparedness for this university to be a public university. And this university comes with a number of benefits, not only for Uganda, but even for the Rwenzori region. You are going to have opportunities in employment. We are going to see increased demand and the purchasing power of the people brought by this university, because people will be able to sell their goods in this university. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. I strongly support this motion, and I request all members of this House to support this motion without any fear or favor. Thank you very much.
Honorable Samuju, then I come to the person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. The justification that the Honorable Minister gives is a wrong one. There are students every year who sit senior 6 and complete other levels of education. The justification for starting a university should be for creation of space for those who are graduating. The minister says this region must also have a university. For God's sake, this is not supposed to be a tribal institution. The justification should be the figures that every year we have so many students graduating from this and that, and they cannot find space. And you come to a National Assembly to say we want to establish a university because of this. But to say that we want to start a university in Toro, you even list the districts that are supposed to benefit. I have relatives who have gone to Gulu University. My colleagues who are very agitated about Busoga University, Honorable Asumana and Honorable Sirwanyi, studied in Makerere. There is even no guarantee that people who will go to that university are necessarily from those areas. The Honorable Mingo, next time, my advice, you come with such a beautiful motion, please don't make it look ugly by giving tribal reasons as if we are creating kingdoms. Mr. Speaker, it is a crime to tribalize education. I therefore want, it's a tendency these days, we want this university, we want this secondary school. Children these days even go to Kenya to study. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. I take information.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for giving way. Right Honorable Speaker, the information I would like to give to my honorable colleague is that our region is not tribal. The Rwenzori region is composed of many tribes, and actually we are a cosmopolitan region, including having Indians and Europeans. So in that region, we don't know anything to do with the tribe. We only know knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you very much for that information. I think you are now inviting an apology from the mover of the motion. Mr. Speaker, I have personally visited the Moon University. One of the last assignments I did before I left the media was to visit eminent Ugandans who had served and retired peacefully. I visited Professor Edward Rugumayo and spent a day with him. He actually drove me to that university, and he was using his contacts he had created when he was a diplomat to look for books, to look for aid for that university. I therefore support that university, but I will not sit before I say this, Mr. Speaker. There is something unique about the founders of that university. Professor Edward Rugumayo was appointed an ambassador. And he said, I decline, you cannot take Zaire in old age. He refused to go to France again. Colonel Tom Butime was appointed minister for Karamoja. And that's why his talking was, say, this university, please bring everybody. He did not want to be a tribal minister. And I commend those people. He actually declined the appointment. There are others who will celebrate every appointment, even when that appointment is to belittle them. So there's something unique about the founders of this university. Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Honorable Tamaguzi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also support the motion on condition that even other regions who have demanded for their universities to be taken over by government also be considered in specifics like Busoga region. Right Honorable Speaker, wherever these regions get their universities, it reduces over-concentration of students, especially in Kampala, where we used to only know Makerere University. We have Uguru University, we have Busitema University, we have Mbarara University, then why not Mountain of the Moon University? Because it is going to serve Ugandans. So, Right Honorable Speaker, with those reasons, I also stand and support the takeover of Mountain of the Moon University by government. I submit.
Honorable members, usually where there's agreement on a particular matter, we don't have to take too much time because there is other business pending. Can I have somebody who is opposed to this motion so that I can see? Somebody who is opposed to the motion as presented? No, it's okay. But
thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My old friend, the Honorable Time, is very scared, and I can see things that I want to shoot down and otherwise.
No, it's not. I can't.
Well
I know
intended.
him.
So let him rest assured that the cause is noble and we would like to be part of it. Honorable Speaker, I listened to the Honorable Minister explaining criterion for establishing a public university, namely a minister by such an instrument, National Council for Education, and a resolution of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, that criteria for me has very serious gaps, and in future, we need to evolve a policy other than who can establish and, resolution, National Council, because if that is not revisited and we have a clear policy on how is a public university established, we will have a problem. I remember the debate on Busoga University in the 10th Parliament hit a snag when there was a conversation about whether the application should not be taken to the Committee for Education to evaluate, the issues in the university first, because we had petitions in the House from students complaining about their status. They had been denied employment because the university was running and its establishment was questionable. So in the future, Right Honourable Speaker, these are bipartisan motions. All of us can discuss the pros and cons and move to the center and do public good. Future ministers should come out with a clear policy of how public universities are established, even take over properly defined. Today, tomorrow, before you know it, somebody is going to ask that their secondary school become a university, like the Honorable Sumaju was saying. For any region believing that they're being marginalized, could say, now we want a university. How about, for example, a government policy on establishing a secondary school per sub-county? And up to now, it has never materialized. What stops a private person struggling with a secondary school applying to government to make it a public school? and the rest are troubles with the government, Mr. Speaker. So we ask that in the future, we would have a clear policy, whether we would have regional universities and we define the regions clearly to avoid debates that tend to ignore public good. We are here for public good, right, Honourable Speaker. So I'm here to support the motion by the Minister and ask that we would in the future properly move, have an input by the Committee for Education at some stage and report to Parliament that we can move at the same page, because then we'll be able to support something that is really properly mirrored. Right, Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I, yes, Honourable Member, on what matter do you raise?
I raise on Rule 61. Right Honourable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Dr. Batwa Timothy Rusala, Member of Parliament, Jinja West constituency.
Do you rise on procedure or?
Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to debate so that I can amend the motion under Rule 61 to include Busoga University. Rule 61, Sub-Rule 12. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable friends, Busoga University was the very first public university to be established in Uganda.
Honourable, let me just guide you. You saw them laying a certificate of financial implication. And by now, I'm sure you are aware of Article 93 of the Constitution and its limitations to private members' attempts at making amendments or making proposals that have an effect of imposing a charge on the fund. Now, if you're aware of those things, I think you might be by now thinking of reconsidering the amendment you're about to propose, because it would hit that small problem. Honourable members, I think let's not divert from what is at issue here. I attended the inaugural fundraising meeting of Busoga University in Iganga. I think the year was 2015. And if you go to the list of people who made contributions, I was ranked as one of those who gave substantial amount of money to support the university. The debate we have had about Busoga University is, you know, it was like the one that was the branch of Gulu University in Kitgum, and even the branch of Gulu University that was supposed to be in Moroto. They hit snags. Now, once all those things are clarified, there would be absolutely no reason why a motion should not be brought to this House for Busoga University to be taken over by government. We all know the issues. I am not at, my placement does not allow me to start participating in a debate, but we all know the issues surrounding Busoga University. It's not political, it's not tribal. There are technical issues that need to be sorted out, just like you had the charter, the way the Honourable Minister Butima outlined how far they have gone with the issue of Mountains of the Moon University. So let's clarify those things, sort it out with the Minister of Education, and have another motion on Busoga University and adopt it. Would that not be a better procedure than making it look like if this doesn't happen, this cannot happen? For me, that would be my attitude towards this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the question to the motion, and if the Honourable Member has taken my guidance, I would be glad, because the temptations of moving away from being polite might start creeping in.
Most obliged.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honourable members, I now put the question to this motion. Yes, Honourable, on what matter do you raise?
I'm Businge Joab from Masini Municipality. I rise on a point of procedure.
Yes, procedure.
Whereas I do support the takeover of Mountains of the Moon University to be a public university, I've remained wondering whether it is procedural right to reduce this debate to a level of Mountains of the Moon and Busoga University. Yet many other regions, including Bunyoro, where I come from, we are all anxious of having a public university. I would therefore say that, yes, because as if it is now becoming an issue of Busoga versus the Rwenzori sub-region. Yet there are some of us also who are burning silently in there, and would wish to see that all these regions are balanced as far as university education is concerned. Therefore, I rise as we support the Mountains of the Moon University, for the minister to commit himself that the entire country will be looked at in totality for all regions, not that those who make more demand get better, because the government is there to balance all of us. So I would love that commitment from the minister.
Thank you. The procedural matter that you have raised, I am actually wondering whether Masindi borders an international boundary, because that issue could hardly have come under procedure. But you were able to do it the Tororo way, the Busia way. That's also acceptable. I'm sure the minister has taken note. It's not the first time I've heard about university in Bunyoro. I have heard about it. So it's just the processes that should take place and should be done. If you had raised it, and I would have loved it if you had raised in the spirit of, let's do this one, next should be this one. And that would be the spirit in which we handled it, so that we see if we can have public universities all over the country to assist our students who want to gain university education. Honorable members, I now put the question to this motion that the Mountains of the Moon University be taken over as a public university. Those in favor say aye. To the contrary, no. Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 3. Item number 4. Motion for adoption of the report of the Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on building a more resilient sector, lessons learned from a socio-economic impact assessment of the COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism, trade and industry sector.
Honorable members, you will recall this report was presented by the chair of the committee, and my recommendation was that we look at it because it has quite some substantial issues that it raised for the decision of the House. You have had more than 2 weeks to look at this document, and I had already proposed the question for debate, and debate starts now, each member taking as much time as they need, but limited to the overall time allotted for this particular debate. Am I starting from Kasilo County?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, there's only one thing I would really want to ask the Minister of Finance on the matter in that report regarding the charging or taxation of the textiles based on the weight and not value. In all that I've gone through in the customs, when I was working with the customs, textiles were charged based on the value, what they call arbitrary value. I was wondering how a Minister of Finance decide to bring the issue of weight. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, there are textiles which are light but of higher value. That's why, even in the international standards, the taxation was based on value. We have here Honorable Katesh, who was even the chairperson of the International Customs Union. She's been able to give this to the Minister of Finance. So I get defeated when the Minister of Finance is putting tax based on the weight. Mr. Speaker, look at jeans. Those who put on jeans, how heavy they are. But they may not be having the value like some polyester, nylon. So if you do put tax based on the weight, then you are going to disorganize the investors, you are going to overtax investors, and it will cause disorganization in the sector. I really want to know what were the reasons that Minister of Finance for this time applied in order to change what's known internationally. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Can I have Chegegwa? Then I have, that's Shema also.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I am Kabahenda Flavia Rabhoro, the MP Chegegwa District. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the chairperson for the report that they came up with as a committee. And my major interest is in the tourism sector, Right Honorable Speaker. With the wake of COVID-19, Right Honorable Speaker, it is prudent that the tourism sector development keeps in line with the NDP3, because tourism remains one of the priority sectors for the socio-economic transformation. Right Honorable Speaker, tourism sector set out 5 programs in the NDP3 to promote domestic and inbound tourism, to increase the stock and quality of tourism infrastructure, to develop, conserve, and diversify tourism products, including cultural tourism, wildlife, and natural resources, to develop a pool of skilled personnel along the tourism value chain, and to enhance regulations, coordination, and management of tourism. This, Right Honorable Speaker, necessitates that we package a during and after or post-COVID-19 package that is well spelled out and that is looking at the protection and management of the tourism resources, that will protect jobs, sustain self-employment, support companies' liquidity and operations. Right Honorable Speaker, it is at this point that I would like to implore government and the Prime Minister as leader of government business that on the National COVID Task Force, they co-opt the Ministry of Tourism to be represented so that they can bring in their mind on influencing COVID-19 decisions for this country so that we protect the basic sector that brings its very good package to the national economy. Right Honorable Speaker, we would like to see these task force decisions addressing capacity gaps and infrastructure issues, quality assurance, virtual visits to our national parks and any other tourism products, and of course, diversification of products for tourism. Right Honorable Speaker, may we have someone from the Ministry of Tourism sit on the National COVID Task Force to cause decisions to be mindful of the tourism sector. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Kateshumba Dixon.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to add my voice to thank the chairperson of the committee and the team for the great work they did. Right Honorable Speaker, the report is very extensive, but I would like to address myself to some of the factors that are actually affecting our trade and bring to the attention of the House and members that since we joined the East African community in 2005, we adopted the common external tariff. At that time, the tariff had a 3-band structure that was consistent with our level of production and manufacturing. Right Honorable Speaker, that tariff structure has remained until now. And there have been promises by government, together with the partner states, to review the common external tariff to reflect the current realities on the ground. Right Honorable Speaker, there are items we had in that structure that were intermediate inputs into industries. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, because of the growth of the industries, the situation has changed. I want to appeal to the Minister of Trade and the Minister of Finance that review has taken long and it is affecting the growth of our industries and it is bringing bad competition in the region. Right Honorable Speaker, many years ago, we used to import from the region products which now we are producing. And as a result of that, it has not gone well with our neighbors. We must have strong negotiators to look for the markets. We are crowding ourselves within the region for a market that is not expanding. Right Honorable Speaker, we want to know from government the strategies. The African Continental Free Trade Area came up, and we as a country, we need to position ourselves to be able to expand our territories in terms of trade. We would like to know from government the efforts that are being taken to make sure that we see our products beyond the borders of East Africa. Right Honorable Speaker, I commend the team for the work they have done, and I would like to appeal to government on matters of negotiation, because trade is a new war in the world. We need to be strategic and protect our markets. We do not see that urgency. Our trade volumes are reducing, the balance of trade is widening. We need a strategy as a country. I submit.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, I am Mary Begumisa, woman member of Parliament, Sembabule District. I rise on the issue of tourism and COVID in relation to our clients. The tourism sector, where I work from, our clients have been inconvenienced for the 1.5 hours they take at the airport. Can we know how the ministry is going to help our clients? They are complaining heavily. Somebody who has traveled from probably Canada or USA right now, and you wait at the airport, they are also suggesting that can they be found at their hotels whose addresses government has, so that we don't inconvenience somebody who took the vaccine, the 2 jabs, and fully vaccinated, has been probably on the plane for 8 hours, and now wait in the queue to be tested again. Can we know from the ministry how our clients, especially the international tourists, can be urgently helped? I thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I too will restrict myself to tourism, especially because it's Uganda's highest foreign exchange earner. Mr. Speaker, tourism contributes upwards of 7.75% to our country's GDP. When it comes to employment, 6.7% of the jobs in this country are tethered to tourism. That means there is a lot of potential there. My worry is we are not, in my view, investing as much as we should. Maybe if we were, these figures would be way higher. And there's things that we can do to prop up tourism. For example, can we build infrastructure? Mr. Speaker, when you go to some of the game parks in this country, the roads are in a pathetic state. About 2 years ago, there's a minister who said, no, don't worry about the bad roads. It is part of the adventure for the foreign tourists when they come here. I found that preposterous because they spend 6 hours on the road, pushing the cars and all of that. They'll go elsewhere where things are a lot better. If we invest there, we'll be inviting these people. Mr. Speaker, our wildlife, adventure, and cultural experiences exceed those of many countries. It is absurd that many people out there think that our good neighbors, Rwanda, have a higher population of mountain gorillas than Uganda. Matter of fact, they don't have even a third of the mountain gorillas we have here. The reason is because those are good neighbors are investing in advertising. We're not doing as much as a country. Mr. Speaker, I read somewhere, and I hope this does not offend anybody, I read somewhere that doing business without advertising is like a man who winks at a lady in the dark. Regardless of what you do, nobody appreciates it. So we have a lot of potential here. Can we invest in advertising that? Finally, Mr. Speaker, one of the other things that I think we can do is incentives to local investors in tourism. We do these things for foreign investors, tax waivers and so on. I don't know why we don't do that for our local investors, because the product is ours here. I'll give an example as I wrap up. I have a friend called Amos Wekesa. He's a tourism player, one of the big ones. He told me for the last coming to 2 years, when business has been low, he has had to keep open, he's paying workers, and he still has to pay payee, NSSF, and all these different things. And he was saying once we make it a bit easier for them, the tourism industry will not die out. But if we keep loading it heavily on them, it will die, and yet it's one of the great ones that we have. So I hope that government can put into consideration these issues. I thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can I have Doctor from Jinja?
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Dr. Batua Timothy Rusala, a Member of Parliament, Jinja West. Jinja is, if not maybe the first tourist spot, it should be, because of the source of the River Nile. Right Honorable Speaker, I bring to the attention of this House the concerns of hotel owners in Jinja in regard to the report of the Trade, Tourism and Industry report. Right Honorable Speaker, the hoteliers say that while they've invested a lot of money in ensuring the SOPs, COVID SOPs, they do wonder why government limits them from holding workshops and seminars. I do remember very well, as we were emerging out of the lockdown, the President mentioned that the Prime Minister will, time to time, give alterations some of these guidelines. Their view is that since they've invested a lot and they can manage, perhaps guidelines that limit numbers that could be allowed to attend seminars and workshops can be set, rather than denying them the opportunities of doing this. And to me, I see it positive, because they will make money and government can remit more tax from them. Right Honorable Speaker, they also spoke towards vaccination, hoteliers being given a priority during this vaccination effort, because it convinces, you know, the world has opened up gates to tourism. People have started moving out, going to various countries for tourism. So it will convince a tourist when a hotel posts on its website that all its workers are vaccinated. There's a sense of confidence it will give to that tourist, and that's why it will be attracted to the hotel business here in Uganda. Last but not least, I'm speaking to those people who are in the taxi business, the commuter taxis, the 14-seaters. Number one, the capacity they carry was reduced to 50%, from 14 passengers to 7. However, the service tax that they pay was not reduced. I wish the Minister of Finance makes mention on that. Secondly, when you look at the structuring of the seats in a taxi, there are 5 rows. If you're to do social distancing, it will require a passenger to sit in either corners. And if that's done, a taxi will carry 9 passengers, not 7, as released from the guidelines that the President informed us. So, yeah, thank you, right on 1 minute. As since the Prime Minister was given the power and authority to alter some of these guidelines accordingly, I wish she addresses herself on that guideline of letting taxis carry 9 passengers so that they optimize the space. Otherwise, when you tell them to carry 7, there will be 2 rows that will have one passenger. So to optimize so they can get something reasonable out of the activity, let them be allowed to carry 9 passengers and it will still be done safely. I beg submit.
Thank you very much. Onzima Honorable Aringa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to thank the committee for the report. Right Honourable Speaker, my submission is going to cover 2 areas, trade and industry. Under trade, my concern is about the cost of money for investment. Right Honourable Speaker, we made a mistake as a country when we decided to privatize all our banks. You can never develop without cheap source of money. This was observed clearly by the committee. Right Honourable Speaker, as we talk now, there's an effort by government to capitalize UDB, but the pace is very slow. And when you look at that UDB itself, it does not bear nationalistic characteristics. It is being based in Kampala, not in other districts. So that means that those other traders in other areas cannot access UDB easily. I want to appeal to government. We should look at this as a critical investment point, such that we put more money to capitalize UDB and try to spread it in the various districts. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, as we talk now, accessibility of money is not easy by every level of businessman or businesswoman. It appears to be more selective. Those who have lower levels of operations do not access this money. And these are the categories of people who have been hit hard by COVID-19. So I will appeal to government to try to visit this to ensure that the operations of UDB favors everybody. Secondly, on the issue of industry, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee emphasized the issue of import substitution. Right Honourable Speaker, our investment policy seems to favor foreign investors more than our local investors. And many times some of these foreign investors, their operations are based on the investment climate. If the situations change, that means they can move to countries where investment conditions are favorable. So I will wish to appeal to government that we should consistently and gradually empower our local investors, such that in situations like COVID, where every country was locked up, people depended on their own internal advantages and capacities. So this will teach us a lesson that if we are to move forward, we will rather depend on our own local investors. Many times when foreign investors come, we try to favor them on very many other aspects, just because we think we can get a lot of taxes. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Boniface Okot.
Right Honourable Speaker, I rise as a proponent of the motion. The report is extensive in its analysis of the challenges of youth businesses, but a bit silent on a couple of other issues. Right Honourable Speaker, when you look at part 2, 3, 4, which is on page 13 of the report, themed difficulty in servicing loans, the report indicates that there is a significant rise in the number of non-performing loans in the trade and commerce sector. There was a quarter average increase in these non-performing loans from 5% in the quarter of July to September 2019 to 7.4% in the quarter of January to March 2020 and 8% in the quarter of January to March 2021. Right, Honorable Speaker, these periods were characterized by business interruptions owing to the lockdown. On account of these revelations, Right Honorable Speaker, the plight of youth businesses that accessed revolving empowerment loans from government before COVID-19 hit should also be taken into account. A case in point, Right Honorable Speaker, is the Youth Livelihood Program, which ideally is meant to stimulate youth businesses. As you may be aware, Right Honorable Speaker, this empowerment fund is revolving, of course, in nature and demands repayment from these young people. But the death of these youth businesses that received this startup capital from government is on account of the enormous pressure on the youth businesses to pay back, and in some instances, these young people have been arrested, and despite the fact that there have been interruptions. Right Honorable Speaker, I would request that there should be considerations of also restructuring and renegotiating terms of these empowerment revolving funds accessed before COVID-19 interruptions, at least to guarantee business survival, and this should be prioritized for both the youth, and we even have the women who are special interest groups that are receiving this support. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we have the Honorable Lady there, please? You know, the masks don't help much with identification.
Thank you.
Member for Butambala.
It's okay, and thank you so much for the compliment that my mask matches the scarf. Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, my name is Aisha Kawanda. I come from Butambala District, Woman Member of Parliament. I join colleagues to thank members of the committee for the report. I have only noted two areas of concern, in my opinion. One, they noted and observed that whereas government said that loans should be rescheduled, commercial banks actually were rescheduled, but the interest skyrocketed and then it became very difficult. They did not provide a solution in their report to that. Because the interests have continuously gone high, the loans have more than doubled, and people are losing property. I wonder what would have happened if, for example, government suggested that the commercial banks forfeit only interest, not the principal, only interest for that time, because if bars and restaurants and every other business closed, what would be wrong for commercial banks to lose their profit for only that time? So I regret that there's no solution to the problem. And number two, I don't know what is happening with finance, because at this time, while we cry out of funding and we're looking forward to increasing money, commercial bank instead has come up with a regulation to increase commercial deposits to these commercial institutions, raising commercial deposits from commercial banks from 25 billion to 500 billion, for microfinance institutions from 1 billion to 50 billion, and for microfinance institutions from 500 million to 10 billion. All that is intended to reduce money into circulation as a way of controlling inflation. Now, as we control inflation, we are going to reduce money in circulation and make it very difficult for people to borrow, and thereby will make money expensive to our people. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, the plight of teachers. The teachers are out of myoga by design, and the teachers have been reminded that they should go to their 20 billion money that has been allotted to them. But the conditions are so stringent. A teacher must be in a registered school, but we know there are so many schools that are not registered. A teacher must be registered by the ministry. We know there are teachers that are not registered by the ministry. A teacher must be in a circle that is subscribed. Just to conclude this matter, I only mean to say that the conditions to access the 20 billion shillings are so stringent for our teachers, and yet they have also been excluded from Emyoga. I expected the report from the sectoral committee to come out with a solution to address the plight of our teachers. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm Magoro John Faith, Member of Parliament, Bungoko North in Mbale District. I commend the work of the committee, and I noticed one of the places that were visited was the Mbale main market in Mbale City. And most of the fresh foods that supply the city, they come from the farmers who come from the hills, and they all bring their foods down here in the main market. The sad thing is COVID has revealed many things. Besides them accessing the market, everything that they were bringing in went to waste because there was no market. That reveals that there is an urgent need to establish a cooler where fresh foods and vegetables can be stored in all that big market so that farmers will not be at a loss. They are farming and the money they are using is borrowed money from their loans. And at the end of the day, they are operating at a loss, and most of them are on the run because the financial institution cannot lose out. All they need is their money which they borrowed. So, well, I recommend the work of the committee. I believe that should also be put into place so that that system is put in place where the farmers, when they bring their goods, they can keep them so that they slowly look for the market so they don't lose out. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Tororo County.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I also want to thank the Chair and the committee for the comprehensive report that they presented. Right Honorable Speaker, I come from a border district. And in fact, at the border, we don't involve ourselves in smuggling, but we facilitate trade. We facilitate demand and supply. Right Honorable Speaker, COVID has really been a very big problem to us, not only in the country, but also at the border. The border gate, community gate in Malaba, a gate that supplies the foodstuffs to Kenya, was closed from the time all borders were closed. Fortunately enough, borders have been opened, but that community gate remains closed. So I want to find out from the government as to when this gate will be opened. Because all the fresh foods that go to Kenya don't pass through the main gate, they use the community gate. So we are losing a lot, and that should be responded to. Number two, Right Honorable Speaker, a lot has been talked about textile. It is true, Honorable Katesh, who is well informed and who has been a manager in respect to taxation, has said something. But we must also add our voice that whereas we are working on import substitution, which is a key aspect in form of growing our economy, but we should also be cognizant of the fact that our capacity now is not yet very good to sustain not only the local demand, but also the external demand that originates from here. You're aware that South Sudan picks textiles from here, Congo picks textiles from here. And aware that transport costs also went up. A container, 20-foot container, now from China to the port of Mombasa or Dar es Salaam, goes at $6,000 to $7,000. What used to be far much more less and beyond. So when you hear our traders complaining of the tax component, it is really something that should be taken into consideration as we build our capacity, the industries that we have here, to reach the capacity to be able to meet the market demands of this country. Right Honorable Speaker, many have talked about the incentives given to investors. Right Honorable Speaker, the investors come and get tax holidays. I think it would be important for us to come with a threshold for our local investors here, what they can afford. If it is $50,000 information, if it is $50,000, let's give them also opportunity to benefit from those tax incentives. I want to tell you, Right Honorable Speaker, the beverage industry is now suffering. We have investors who are picking beverages on duty-free, and are competing with those who are picking beverages on high taxes. So when goods are supplied to the market, the prices are in disparity, and the other people are taking the market because of the incentive they benefit. So let's be fair to our traders, build their capacity, give them the incentives which are affordable to them, and we should be able to increase our support, both in terms of revenue, but also create employment for our people. I thank you very much. Information.
Honorable Paul Omara.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the chairman for his report and the work that they have done with together with the team. My comments is only on one, it's on trade, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to submit that Uganda has really made progress in terms of increasing and improving on our balance of trade. Not very long ago, our balance of trade was negative with all our neighbors. But I want to submit that we now have a positive balance of trade with Kenya, with South Sudan, with Rwanda, and all our neighbors. Right Honorable Speaker, we have a big challenge. As much as 15% of our exports go to South Sudan, 10% to Kenya, we seem to be having a crisis of instability. And that is affecting this country in a very big way. In 2019, our total exports was $3 billion, and we have started making progress. The president normally inspires the nation to think big beyond our own domestic markets, because we can't progress with what we have in Uganda. We need to establish and grow the intra-African trade, which is at the moment is only 20%. Most of our exports are outside Africa. And my question, therefore, to government is that what are we doing in terms of aligning our strategic defense in order to promote trade within East Africa, just as a way of starting? Because, as you can see, our borders with Rwanda is closed. At the moment, we have a crisis recently at a Lego border. More than 200 trucks were packed and we could not go. So it's going to be very difficult, no matter what we do in terms of manufacturing and growing, if we don't bring about regional peace and stability, we are not going to make progress. The second one, Right Honorable Speaker, we have our representative at the AU, and we talk about the AU protocols to promote intra-African trade. Right Honorable Speaker, there are challenges with immigration, with tariffs at the borders, with transport, and so forth. So we as a country, we need to consider and ask government again, what is it that we are going to do at the AU to promote intra-African trade to make Uganda exports grow bigger? I submit.
Thank you very much. Can I now have the member for Kwania?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Committee of Trade. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to address myself on the area of industry and also trade, looking specifically on the leather tanning industry. Right Honorable Speaker, from the report of the committee, first of all, we don't have a comprehensive policy to guide on hides and skin, leather and leather products. And also, the report indicates that this is a sector that government has not paid much attention to support and leaving it scattered to individual companies to fend for themselves. And yet, Right Honorable Speaker, this is an area that affects farmers throughout the country. Initially, we used to have a very huge business in hides and skin, but this has all collapsed. And farmers now, after slaughtering the cow, apparently there is no market. You simply have to throw your hides, you simply have to throw your skin, Right Honorable Speaker. I am therefore calling upon government that while we are looking at the effect of the waste coming from the tannery factories, it is quite expensive, and therefore government needs to come in to invest or work together with these companies so that they put in the tanning plants and see how to manage the waste from the factories. Otherwise, Right Honorable Speaker, at one time we had wanted the country, and this was pronounced by His Excellency the President, that we should stop importing shoes. We should stop importing bells. But Right Honorable Speaker, today, the Chinese plastic shoes, the Chinese plastic sandals are all over the country, and yet we are throwing these hides and skin away instead of government coming to invest so that we turn them and begin to manufacture shoes from within the country, manufacture bells from within the country, and bags and so on. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I am calling upon the Ministry of Trade and Industry and government that we review our support to the sector of leather and tanning so that the farmers begin to get benefits in their animals, right from the beef, the bones, the horns, and the skin, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have the honorable member?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For record purposes, my name is Kawalia Abubekar, the Member of Parliament, Rubaga North. Mr. Speaker, I will start with appreciating the work which was done by the committee. But as the Shadow Minister for Kampala, there's quite a lot of challenges that the traders of Kampala go through at the moment. Because as I'm speaking right now, I have been receiving complaints from the Kampala City Traders Association over a certain number of concerns, and one of them is the issue of taxes, both from URA and Kampala Capital City Authority. For example, as the effect of COVID-19, property owners have not been getting any money from their tenants. But still, KCCA is manning property tax from them. When they conducted meetings with the Minister of Kampala, together with some officials from the Ministry of Finance, they had promised them to work on that issue, but still up to now, they haven't received any response from them. There's also another challenge of the increased number of taxes. There's the rental tax, property tax, trading license, But remember, shops have been closed. And actually, the whole of last week, there was a demonstration in Kampala where shops were closed as a result of such challenges. There's another issue also that concerns the plight of private schools in Uganda, but most especially in Kampala as the capital city. As we are discussing this report at the moment, the Minister of Finance came out clearly to say that there's no any intention of helping private schools by the government. But remember, Ugandans, remember that General Museveni, the president of Uganda, promised them to secure the future of Ugandans. Our kids have not been going to school for the last 2 years. That means schools are not getting anything from the parents of the schools. But still, these schools have loans that have accumulated, so we expected a full cabinet minister of finance to come out clearly and give us a way forward on how we are going to help these schools. Lastly, on the transport sector, as we all know, that Kampala holds the largest percent of the GDP of this country. Because when you talk about the GDP, Kampala contributes over 70%. In the process of lockdown, we experienced a scenario where government started making plans on how they are going to send off our brothers who are in the transport sector, most especially those managing taxis together with border borders. We witnessed a signing of a certain agreement between the government of Uganda and the company called Metu. And as we are speaking right now, there's a lot of tension among the tax drivers, together with the border drivers, cyclists, on how they are going to proceed. I've not seen any single official from the government coming out to tell the nation how they're going to secure jobs of Ugandans, not forgetting that in this term, Ugandans are waiting to see how the government is going to secure their future. I beg to submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'll have the honorable member. Honorable Lani, you have just stood. Honorable member. Then I'll have the member for Terego district. Then I have Fort Portal.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, I am Karim Masaba, the Member of Parliament, Industrial Division in Mbale City, and also serving as the Shadow Minister of Tourism and Wildlife. My remarks will be majorly going to the tourism sector. I want to thank the Honorable Member for his nice report, though it was shallow on some few recommendations. To begin with, the Minister, I heard him somewhere talking about digital tourism, but he did not give it so much light. So this is something I expected the report to capture more and to address more, because we've been having very many challenges with the tourism sector. So if we are to go online, we need to put more emphasis on this area. And I don't know why there is still a ban on Facebook, because this is the biggest social media site in the entire universe with over 2.7 billion users. So I believe this is something which could help our economy grow. And we are having also people dealing in e-commerce. They are doing business online. So this is affecting very many people. Me personally, I happen to have survived in Canada for 3 years while dealing in online business. So I know how good this online business can be, and calling upon government to try and revise these policies. The other issue which I believe was not captured in this report concerns one of the factors which must have affected very much our tourism sector, which was the election violence. This might look to be something minor, but actually people pursued Uganda as a war zone during the elections because of what was happening. So I think if this was captured, then perhaps in the next elections we could revise how we do things, because I had colleagues who wanted to come over during during winter, the other side, they wanted to come and participate in my elections. But whatever was going on social media, it discouraged them. So I believe it had a huge hindrance on the tourism sector as well. Another issue that has been affecting so much our tourism sector is it concerns human-wildlife conflict, where people go and kill the wildlife, then the animals eat people. So this has existed for a while, and I heard government in 2019 talked about something to do with an electric fence on Queen Elizabeth National Park, which is supposed to be about 40 kilometers long to protect people from encroaching on the wildlife and the other way around. So I'm trying to request government to give us more information on that project and how far they have reached with it, the progress of, if they change their, I think they should update this house. Lastly, it's about the COVID relief package. The tourism sector was not so much highlighted or given priority. This is something that I think government or us as parliament, we should always look at when we are passing these supplementaries to help people, because many, not only the tourism sector, but even the traders, because now we're taking the entire tourism and trade. Many traders did not access. We have a handful of them who got huge sums of money, and the traders down in Chikubu, not many of them accessed these funds. The process was monotonous. Not many of them could afford their 100 million, that because they put a threshold of over 100 million shillings. So people wanted to borrow as much as 20 million, 50 million, such that their businesses can survive, but they were not rescued. Many people have closed business, so I think this is something that we should reconsider. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Biga.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For record purpose, Rose Obiga, woman MP Terrigo. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to congratulate the committee for work well done. Thank you so much. But however, Honorable Speaker, in West Nile, we have a place called Ajai Game Reserve, which was known for white rhino species. Honorable Speaker, this place has now remained for monkeys and a few guinea fowls. I really think it's imperative upon government that we restock the white rhinos. Apart from the two I see in Entebbe Zoo, I would think we need to take white rhinos there, because it was a big tourist attraction. To Honorable Speaker, I would like to talk about the border markets. When you look at Ilegu, together with Ariwara and Oraba, this would really help to market a lot of our produce. Honorable Speaker, our traders suffer a great deal, including corporal punishment when they cross to Sudan. It will be good if we can develop this market so that we sell our fruits and other goods that get rotten as traders move to Sudan. I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fourth portrait, then we'll have the lady, then I go. So is that Kawale? Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the committee for the quick intervention in collecting data that is affecting the plight of our business community. As you are aware, Right Honorable Speaker, the effects of COVID worldwide has affected our ways and our source of revenue. But also there are those who have benefited, especially those who have adjusted, and they are now able to make more money. As you can see, all of us here, we are putting on these temporary masks. People are making money. Unfortunately, the nature of our economy, we have different categories. We have the lowest traders. These are the traders who survive on capital ranging from 50,000 to 200,000. They just buy greens, vegetables, and put on their heads and market for that day. Now, some of these categories, majority have collapsed. Because even raising 200,000 Uganda shillings, it's not something easy for them. And these are the majority of the traders that we have. Now, many of them, especially women, who have children abandoned by the men, it is very easy for the men to run away from these problems. And they leave the women. There is real suffering when you go to that lower level. There is another category, Right Honorable Speaker, the small, medium enterprises. These are the ones who access loans, they stake their assets in order to make money. But unfortunately for these small, medium enterprises, the banks only smiles when they want them. But when there are problems of this nature that are beyond control, really there is no heart at all of knowing that you were a customer and you really need to talk with the bank such that you see how to get out of the problem. So this crisis, Right Honorable Speaker, it needs the timely intervention of government. When we are talking about bailout, I saw the other time when we were discussing Myoga, a lot of billions were mobilized to see money reaching the lower communities. But what if we get this money? Because I know those guys of tourism, they went and the big guys, they shared the money, the bailout. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I pray that we get resources into the microfinance support center, such that the small, medium enterprises which are really dying out because of the loans and interest can access cheaper credit, and then we have them survive, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, is this honorable?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Midias Natkunda, District Woman Representative, Rukunjiri. I'm talking about the small traders, like he was saying. As you're aware, during this lockdown and the COVID crisis, most of the businesses affected for the small traders include the young people, the youth, those ones operating borders, the tax operators, the saloonists. Most of these people are young. And like the previous honorable said, accessibility to empowerment programs like youth livelihood is also becoming a challenge. So what most of them have resorted to is seeking employment abroad in the Middle East. That's where most of our young people are. If they wish to go, I would implore the government to negotiate for better deals for the young people who want to work abroad. In July of this year, we saw the government of Kenya negotiate with the UK government where they agreed to export, to find jobs for the nurses and the doctors. Can the government also get better employment opportunities for the young people who wish to go and work abroad? Another issue is on the Queen Elizabeth. They talked about it. The government had promised to fence Queen Elizabeth National Park, and this also stretches to my district in Rukunjiri. The animals in Queen Elizabeth are attacking the people, and there's no compensation at all. So I implore the government to give us an update on how far they've gone with fencing Queen Elizabeth National Park. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Dr. Nicholas Kamara. I represent the people of Kabale Municipality. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the good report. I want to say that COVID-19 has affected trade and tourism. And for the people of Kabale and Kigezi in general, it has affected us in a special way. Before the pandemic, we used to have tourists and trade between Uganda and Rwanda. Of course, the trade in Uganda
has gone down and the tourism, but for us, we have been affected in a special way in that the border between Rwanda and Uganda is closed. Now, our people have become very desperate. They have become desperate. They crossed into Rwanda to trade, and so far we have lost over 4 people who have been shot in Rwanda. There is one Alex Ndahimana, a 41-year-old who was shot in Rwanda in May 2019. There was Alex Nyesiga, who was shot from Kamwezi in Ruchiga, who was shot in Rwanda. And recently, 2 weeks ago, there was also another one who was shot. We want to improve our government. We know there have been tripartite meetings, 4 of them, but of recent, it's as if that topic has been closed. We do not know when the border is going to be open. We have 5 MPs in East African Community Parliament. We have a minister in charge of East African affairs. We have many people who can represent us, but everyone is quiet, and people of Kabale are suffering because of the border closure. We used to sell Irish potatoes in Rwanda. When tourists would come to Kabale, they would also cross to Rwanda now. A tourist, instead of coming to Kabale, goes to another place. So it was all way. When a tourist wants to go to Rwanda, they also book to come to Kabale. So for us, we have been affected in the areas of tourism and trade because there is border closure. I want to urge the minister, first deputy prime minister, and also in charge of, the one in charge of East African Community Affairs, and our MPs in East African Community, and also the committee in charge of East African Affairs, to come to the rescue of Kabale people. The question on everyone's lips in Kabale is, when is the border going to be open? I beg to submit. Speaker.
Thank you very much. That is a highly emotive issue coming from Kabale. Honorable members, I have another motion which is critically important. And I was hoping you would agree with me that we roll up this one. Very important debate indeed, and the committee did a good job, and the debate is progressing very well. So if I could roll up this one, and then we deal with the one of the, for the one of transferring funds, reallocation of funds from RIA to the Ministry of Science and Technology. We had referred this matter to the Budget Committee. It was a substantive motion, and I'm told there is some urgency to it. If you could help me so that we roll up this particular debate. When the speaker is speaking, normally members sit, because normally, but looks like that's a very abnormal situation. But so if you could help me so that we roll up this debate, in which case I will deal with the shadow minister, and then I deal, because I still have like 3 ministers, the chairperson will not now speak. Brief. See, I still have 4 people to roll up the debate. I still have the shadow minister, I still have the leader of the opposition. So please help me so that we roll up this. And then we see how to progress with the next motion. The chair of Budget Committee says we have to complete this motion, the next motion item, for today as well. Is he here, Chairman Budget? Also, okay, yeah, so they said we should complete this as well today. So please help me so that we can accommodate this. I have to stop here. Honorable members, please bear with me. The debate is progressing very well. I'm enjoying it myself, but like the man from Bale wants to speak, but now he cannot because the time is really run out. Are you the shadow minister? Who is the shadow minister for trade? Yes, Honorable Mujuchi Francis. Very urgent. That will come under urgent matters.
Thank you so much.
If he's a member of the committee, you know the rules bind even shadow ministers, leader of the opposition.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for this report. Mr. Speaker, it is common knowledge that tourism has been the leading foreign exchange earner for this country.
Honorable, I need you to be brief.
Yeah, very brief
Thank
indeed.
you, thank you.
But with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker, it has inflicted a lot of harm on this sector. And the reason is because of over-dependence on international tourists. The ministry ought to shift its focus to promotion of domestic tourists. You should, like the proposal in the report, establish regional aerodromes. Like Kenya has actually so many of them, regional, and so many domestic flights, which are affordable. The issues of the challenges of infrastructure ought to be also looked into seriously. Mr. Speaker, I want to salute the committee for borrowing a leaf. They made a serious comparison and contrast with Kenya. Kenya, during the pandemic, they set up a credit guarantee scheme to ensure easy access to credit by small and medium enterprises, which was lacking, and very lacking indeed here back home. If the stimulus package also considered other vulnerable groups, like teachers in private schools, they are really suffering. And I saw it in the report. That was spot on. Other categories of vulnerable groups included health workers. These ones, of course, perform a critical role. Most of them have been affected by the virus, and a number of them have died. They ought to have been also given consideration as a vulnerable group, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, I thank you and I submit.
Thank you very much. I'll go to the ministers. Please, you take the order in which you proceed. Starting with the Right Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker, I have the ministers here who are going to respond to the members of the issues of the members of parliament that have been raised. And before they come in, there were issues that were raised for the Prime Minister to respond. There was an issue of tourism that was by Honorable Kabahenda. Honorable Kabahenda, I want just to inform you that tourism is on the COVID task force. It is there. In case of anything, please, you can go to them, and I know most of the issues are being handled by those people. In case there is something that has been left out, contact the minister. I think it will be handled. Then the Minister of Health has also been given 2 weeks to not to disrupt anything, and as far as the people at the airport are concerned. So after the 2 weeks, the task force will come up with a solution, and of course you will be informed. Then the doctor was also talking about the guidelines to be revised by the Prime Minister. Since the guidelines are applying to every body in the country, it is not only to Ginger. Maybe she's still studying the situation, so she cannot only revise for that town alone. So let us keep waiting. When time is appropriate, maybe they will be revised. There was also, I think the rest will be the border gates. Yeah. About the border gates, the President is handling this issue. Yesterday, he was briefing us,
And today he was supposed to talk with some of his colleagues in those neighboring countries. So when they come to terms, he will inform us, and of course, we shall come and inform Parliament about the opening of the border gates. So the rest will be answered by the ministers who are here. Yes, please.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, this matter that we're talking about is international in nature. Of course, even when we're debating, we debate with care. But it's like, it's taking for government years, even just to have Parliament know what is happening between Uganda and the neighbors somewhere. Why is it that you take so long to talk about these matters? You only come when a member raises an issue. So, because they're international, they're deciding to hide. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I would love government to explain to us why they take so long to brief Ugandans on sensitive matters of this nature. Thank you.
Right Honourable Speaker, this issue was raised in Cabinet, not because we had somebody in Parliament raising it. It was brought to Parliament, it was brought to Cabinet, and we were handling, except that we did not inform you that Cabinet is handling it. And then when we are in Parliament, it also comes up. So it's not that, and you know, these are matters concerning different countries. They cannot be handled the way we handle our internal matters. So we need to give it time so that we come up with a solution. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I now have the ministers, please, starting with finance? Briefly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also join the rest of the colleagues to thank the committee for the wonderful report. I must say I also enjoyed the debate. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Cooper raises an issue on customs duty on importation of textiles. I would like to report that we have had a number of engagements with the affected stakeholders, and sooner than later we shall come up with a position which we have taken and which is favorable to us and the stakeholders. Mr. Speaker.
Clarification, Mr. Speaker. Clarification.
Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, I'd like to beg that the colleague bears with me to use the minutes I have been given. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Nzima raises an issue on the cost of money and the distribution channels by Uganda Development Bank. Yes, it is true, UDB gives cheap capital and it is Kampala based, but I want to report to the House that UDB has arranged mobile arrangements whereby we go up country to handle our clients who are based in the countryside. Mr. Speaker, the issue raised by Honorable Aisha Kabanda on the minimum cash reserve, this is a monetary policy issue which Bank of Uganda is implementing, and it is intended to mitigate the risk of the bank in order to remain prudent and sound. Mr. Speaker, there is an issue raised by the Shadow Minister for Kampala on charging taxes when businesses are not earning and they have closed. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter I need to investigate further, and I can engage with him, because as far as I know, taxes are normally a function of income, and therefore I'm wondering why people continue to pay taxes when they are not earning. Mr. Speaker, lastly, on support to SMEs, we have recently passed 200 billion to support medium, small, and medium enterprises, and we are currently working out guidelines with the central bank and the participating banks. I'm sure this will mitigate the challenges which our youth and other small entrepreneurs are facing. Mr. Speaker, also I want to note that this House in 2019, under my chairmanship as the finance chair, we passed the Investment Code Act. In this act, we provided for priority areas for investment and how both the foreign and the local investors can access incentives. And Mr. Speaker, the investment incentives available are both provided for in this act which we passed and also in the relevant tax laws. I would like to implore members to refer to these acts in order to know what is available for local and foreign. This I answer it because it is not true that we are only favoring the foreign investors. Every investor has what is available for him or her. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Tread.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I join my colleagues in thanking the chairperson of the Committee of Trade, Tourism and Industries. This is his first time to chair a committee as a sector which the committee oversees. I must say, Mr. Speaker, that we are feeling the efforts, the pressure, and we are very happy that we are working with the chairman and the members of the committee. There are quite a number of questions, and in the interest of time, as you have requested, I will just attempt to answer a few of them. The first one was by Katesh, who said, talked about access to the markets. Mr. Speaker, we now have accessed a number of markets, not only on the continent, but even internationally. For example, we are members of AGOA, and under this American market, Uganda has been given a quota, duty-free quota of 6,400 items to access their market. We are members of COMESA, we are members of East African Community, as you know, but also His Excellency the President, under his guidance, we have now assented to the African Free Trade Area market. So we can access the whole continent. What we have observed is that there are few traders and few Ugandans actually who know what is happening in these markets. So we are doing two things. First, we have developed a very strong education and communication strategy to make sure that all Ugandans know that these markets are available and what is supposed and what these markets demand. But colleagues, I want to mention here that for us to access these markets, we must increase production. And I'm confident that with efforts of that government has put in place, Operation Wealth Creation, the parish model and others, will be able to increase production. When production is increased, we must have standards of the products to put in the market. We must add value. And Mr. Speaker, I want to request that at an appropriate time, you'll give us time to come here and elaborate and share with colleagues, people's representative, our industrialization strategy, a big agenda to develop our country from the where we are now to a modern economy. And we'll be able to share with you, we have a policy in place, and I think if we shared, we can have input from you and be able to really push this agenda of industrialization. So we want to educate people and want to communicate what we have in this market, Honorable Katesh. There's the issue of cost of money. In addition to reducing other costs of doing business, transport, the fight against corruption, making sure that we have a one-stop center so that our investors, when they come, they invest there, they have their businesses registered in a few days. We have also put money, as the Minister of Finance said, in UDB. But the question has been, as the committee observed, how will somebody in Kalamoja, how will somebody in Kabale access this UDB money? UDB is working out a policy and a strategy to make sure that we can work with other institutions to be able to access this money. But also, in addition, as you recall, those of you who are in 10th Parliament here, in addition, the 400 billion put in UDB, we also increased money for the microfinance support center, that if you cannot access money under UDB, you can access money under the microfinance support center, going down to a Myoga money and now to the parish model. And second, last, somebody raised an issue of import substitution and export substitution. Our vision as a government, NRM government, is to have everything that we are using here in Uganda produced here in Uganda. That's what we mean by import substitution. Not only produce what you use here, but also produce enough to export outside the country. Until we do that, that's when we will actually bridge the gap between the balance of payments, how much we are importing vis-a-vis how much we are exporting. So as we come to present this paper on industrialization, we'll be able to demonstrate our vision, our agenda, and have input from you, the views that we can actually come up with a proper import substitution and export promotion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Minister, for giving way. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister is talking about import substitution. Indeed, the country has been mobilized to produce so that we can save foreign exchange. But Right Honorable Speaker, you are aware that several times we have grown a lot of maize and have lost market. So much so that farmers get discouraged. And right now we have a crisis in Busoga. So can the government, apart from mobilizing the country to grow more and implement that policy of import substitution, also develop a way of absorbing any excess production? Because right now, we are stuck with so many, whenever we have a harvest, we have a crisis. And farmers have continued to turn to us as leaders, asking us, what is it that the government is going to do now that you have given us maize seeds? They are planted seeds. Fortunately enough, there has been a bit of rain. They are going to get good harvest of maize as we did the other year. And when we ask you, where can we take the maize? You are also as stuck as those villagers. So can we be told that the government now is consciously, strategically developing a policy in handling excess production? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mama Cecilia. You have asked a question and you have attempted to answer it. So we are really working out to address that issue. For example, the issue of sugar in Busoga. The strategy is to have a processing plant that produces industrial sugar, because the amount of money you get from industrial sugar is actually more than the money you get from the sugar itself. So we have a strategy. I think the strategy really is industrialization. Second, last, Mr. Speaker, there is an issue of, the Speaker said we have
Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a scenario where our people produce, for example, rice. Then we have a lot of rice coming from Tanzania. And sometimes, because we have not helped our people much, then the quality of rice which comes from Tanzania or from Pakistan cannot compete with our quality. How do you handle that? How can you help our people better? That they remain with their rice in the stores and people prefer to buy Tanzanian rice. Minister of Trade, help us.
Mr. Speaker, the debate is becoming sweeter and sweeter and very interesting, and there are fundamental issues being asked. I would request that probably we have a separate debate on these trade issues, on issues of industrialization, so that the members can really ask questions, we answer them, and we together build consensus on how to move forward. Because like that question the Honorable America Online has asked, needs the whole paper on it. I can make a statement on that with your permission at another time. There was an issue of the border, second last, the main gate and the custom and the community gate. I come from the border. I have participated in this trade, cross-border trade. And I want to urge the member was, we will handle this particular issue, but the main gate is open. The community gate is going to be handled. Somebody talked about and emphasized the point of peace and security as the anchor for trade and economic growth. I agree with the member that without peace and security, you cannot have robust trade, you cannot have economic growth. So all of us, all our efforts should really focus on maintaining peace and security, and I'm glad that all of us know the role that the NRM government, led by His Excellency the President, is playing not only in Uganda, but in the region.
Honorable Minister.
Lastly, on the issue of the policy of laser, we are coming up with a policy on laser.
Inquiry, right, Honorable Speaker.
Then,
Honorable Member, you do not access the microphone before I have allowed you. Please sit. Please sit.
Then we really cannot underscore the importance of e-commerce. We have seen what we have learned, and I agree with the member that we need to work on the cost of lowering, the strategy of lowering the cost of internet to aid us in e-commerce. You have seen how we've been helped by companies like Jumia and others. So the Minister of ICT is actually coming out here with a strategy on how we are going to lower the cost of internet. Can I end, Mr. Speaker, by really thanking the industries. When we were faced with this pandemic, some of the companies diverted their manufacturing lines to focus on the essentials to produce the goods that we needed to fight COVID-19. For example, all these sanitizers, the masks we are putting on have been produced by our local indigenous companies, manufacturers. And I want to thank them for the contribution they have made during this time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable. First of all, Right Honorable, many of us have traveled outside Uganda, and we have returned at Entebbe International Airport, exhausted and tired after transiting through many countries. And this includes tourists. I wouldn't like people arriving, including tourists, being subjected, isn't it, to long sitting and waiting for a test, is it? Everything possible will be done so that if a test has to be taken at all, then that person can be released and the results can follow. That's what I will propose to the National Committee, and that matter has already been discussed by the Prime Minister here, so that in another 2 weeks, there will be an answer to that particular concern. I associate myself with the proposal of the committee. This committee was very kind to us as a ministry when we went before that committee. I thank them, and I thank them for their professionalism and the way they handle people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the levy of $10 as a tourism from the Uganda Tourism Board Act 333, I associate myself and agree with this proposal of this levy. I will have to negotiate again with the committee, because the committee is proposing 70% to be deposited with Post Bank Uganda, some 20% to Uganda Tourism Board, and 10% to URA. I think that's a little unkind to the Uganda Tourism Board, but we'll negotiate and see whether we can have a bigger percentage than 20%. Now that one is subject to discussion and persuasion. On the question of fencing, Right Honorable, the issue of human-wildlife conflict is a very, very concerning issue to all of us. Some work has been done at Queen Elizabeth National Park. If you are traveling from Lake Katwe, Katunguru, going to Kasese, you can see the electric wire on your right. If you go to Oyam district, in Machishun Falls, a lot also has been done, Right Honorable. And that one has really kind of quietened, given some relief to our people. So Right Honorable, we intend, fortunately, government did take a loan, and that money, some of it will be used to erect another electric fence in the areas which have got this kind of conflict, the human and wildlife conflict. So it's a matter of time. We will improve and make sure that this conflict is minimized. Not necessarily eradicated, but minimized. The 2019 Uganda Wildlife Act, the regulations fortunately are ready now, and therefore we shall start to compensate cases which would have been proven and where UA will be liable. Then we'll be able to compensate our people whose crops, let alone lives, which will have been adversely affected. On Aja Wildlife Reserve, the white rhino, we intend to translocate the rhino into that area, plus Kidepo. It's a matter of time, and we shall have translocated rhinos from Luwero, Tukidepo, and Aja. I thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Mr. Chairman, your report has been praised, and I would like you to just request the House to approve, to adopt your report.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Before I make the request, I would like to thank the Speaker of Parliament and the Parliament for the support that were given as a committee throughout this process. I would also like to thank the honorable members and staff of the committee. Right Honorable Speaker, some people refer to this committee to this report as a report of the chairperson. Just to avoid problems, I would like to request the honorable members who are present stand up for recognition. This is a report of the whole Committee of Trade, Industry and Tourism. I would also like to thank members of the 11th Parliament, and we kindly request you to adopt our report. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The question that I now put for your decision is for adoption of the report of the committee, or the sectoral committee on tourism, trade and industry, on building more resilient sector, lessons learned from a socio-economic impact assessment of the COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism, trade and industry sector. That is the motion for your decision. Will I put the question? Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, the time is as it states. I am also advised that there is a function where we are going to receive our medalists. Something has been arranged for them, and I'm supposed to attend. And the matter that is coming next is quite substantial, replete with the minority report, and that is going to take quite a bit of time, and I need it fresh when members can debate it. And then the next motion there, if the presenter of the motion can promise me, well, now it's actually running late. It's running late. Honorable members, you forgive me, because there's the motion on item 5, which you could have accommodated on the resolution to urge government to reverse the directive requiring local governments to remit all local revenues to the consolidated fund. Now, that's another substantive motion, really, because I think this move has been proposed and adopted, and there are issues with it. I don't know since when. I think that has been the situation, but I don't know when these changes are going to be made. So it's not a very small motion after all. I'm therefore going to propose that we pause today's matters here. Tomorrow, we'll start with the item 4. When we spend time and we finish it, item 4, and then we'll deal with the other motions. Matters might come up, which you also need to. So tomorrow we should finish what is on the order paper. Honorable members, in the circumstances, I don't know whether I've not been briefed, whether you're invited. At least I have been invited for this dinner. So if you are not invited, I'll represent you effectively. And I'll report tomorrow on what I've been able to do on your behalf. Honorable members, House adjourned tomorrow 2 o'clock.
Why is that?
Andrew.
My home, I smile when I think of you, Uganda. My home, my home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda. My home, oh my Uganda.